encouraging choice to make in the midst of a difficult time. So I want to express gratitude for the partners that have come together, that have helped gather you all here. Of course, we are very excited to hear from Rotem and Osama. We have a team, a leadership team here at this church that has, for over 30 years, has helped this congregation learn, be more aware, has guided us in action to respond to things that happen in Israel and Palestine as a result of the occupation. And that team of people has also led us into these partnerships in the Madison community and partnerships with organizations and people in Israel and Palestine. And those partnerships have really enriched our life as a church, have enriched our faith. And so, again, we welcome you all in what is hopefully a transformational, illuminating, and no doubt challenging set of stories and lessons. So I would like now to introduce from Jewish Voices for Peace, Esti Dinur.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Esti Dinur. I am a journalist, a print and digital and radio journalist, originally from Israel. I have been a peace activist since the age of 14, and that was a while ago. Peace and Palestinian rights activist. You can hear my radio show almost every Friday at noon Central Time on WORT 89.9 FM. For 29 years now, I've been talking often about the issues of Palestine and Israel. If you want to listen to my archives, find me later and I'll give you the URL. I'm a member of JVP, Madison here, and of Shoresh, which is an organization of anti-Zionist Israelis. Before I do anything else, I would like to note that I'm just one member of a small group of people who made this visit happen. And in order to make it possible, we created a whole tour of the Midwest. So people have already benefited for a couple weeks and are going to also benefit once the guys leave us in 2 days. And so I would like to call them by name and ask them to stand up so they can be recognized. They are Deborah McCants of Jewish Voice for Peace. Diane Doolin and Tom Beilman of Orchard Ridge United Church of Christ. Sarah Allen Linkert, also of JVP. And also Nancy Baumgartner of Memorial United Church of Christ in Fitchburg. She joined us to provide much-needed strategic support. Nancy? She's here somewhere. So thanks to all of you. It's been an amazing, really a great experience working with you all. Thanks also, of course, to Christ Presbyterian Church, which offered this beautiful space, and to all the members who have volunteered and helped to make this event happen. And many thanks also to the numerous organizations that sponsored this visit and event. Please give them a hand. Many thanks. So, as we keep watching Israel's genocide of Palestinians in Gaza with horror, rage, and helplessness, as we watch Israel expanding its massacres to the West Bank and Lebanon, as we hear an UNRWA official saying that no words can describe anymore the situation or conditions faced by Palestinians in Gaza, as we recognize that this is and has been fully supported and abetted by the Biden administration, done with our tax money, And we know that it's at least part of the reason that Trump will return to the presidency of the United States. As we watch the world falling into darkness, we are grateful to also see rays of light. And one such shining light is with us this evening as we welcome Osama Iliwat and Rotem Levin, a Palestinian and an Israeli former combatants coming together in an ongoing, painful, difficult, and much-needed conversation with each other and with anyone who would listen. To quote them, the devastating escalation of violence in Israel and Palestine has left many feeling powerless, angry, and hopeless. Rotem and Osama believe in a different reality and in the possibility of a shared future of security, equality, and justice for all people, to which I say amen. Osama Iliwat was born in Jerusalem, but was displaced with his family, like so many other families, after 1967, and moved to Jericho. As a youth, he was involved in the Palestinian resistance. He has been a dedicated peace activist for over 15 years, working with organizations across the field, including the Sulha Peace Project, Interfaith Encounter Association, Muslim-Jewish Conference, Combatants for Peace, and IPCRI. He speaks regularly for organizations and universities all around the world. When Osama is not working for peace internationally, he helps his community in Jericho and other communities in the West Bank, supporting them to stay on their land and rebuild homes, parks, and schools. He also offers political educational tours in the West Bank, and in 2011 he co-founded Visit Palestine, a political tourism company. Osama taught himself Hebrew in order to connect on the land. He also participates in trauma and healing work to support people on the land. He was a speaker for TEDx Jaffa at the beginning of his peace journey, and he's been featured in many television interviews, including on the BBC in 2021 and NPR. He was also a guest on my public affairs show in May 2022. He has published an article in The Forward, which is a Jewish publication, and his work has been featured in newspapers across the world. He has been featured in several documentaries, including Objector and The Other. Osama participated in many trauma healing workshops in Israel, Palestine, and around the world to create safe spaces for Israelis and Palestinians to heal on a personal and social level. Rotem Levin was born and raised in Ein Vered, Israel. After his military service, he participated in a transformational intensive dialogue program in Germany, where he got to know Palestinians on a personal and intimate level. This instigated a change in perspectives on the story he was born and raised with. After this experience, he started organizing similar programs in Aqaba, Jordan. He is a committed activist and doctor by profession. While studying medicine at Ben-Gurion University, Rotem dedicated himself to learning Arabic and building solidarity relationships with Palestinians. Rotem moved to Beit Jala, a Palestinian village in the West Bank, in 2020 to get to know his neighbors' reality of living under military occupation, understand their culture, and also to improve his Arabic. When Rotem is not giving conferences for peace internationally, he invests most of his time creating healing spaces for Israelis and Palestinians on the land. He has been published in Haaretz and featured on several Spotify podcasts. They will be talking for about 45 minutes, and after that, they will have a discussion with any one of you who would like to participate. We ask that you keep your questions or comments brief so that as many people who want to participate can do that. And with that, let me invite Osama and Rotem.
Is this working? Okay. It works. Can you hear me? Thank you. I would love to ask the organizers, first of all, I would love to thank you. Thank everyone who organized this event and give us this stage to reach more and more people and to explain a little bit about our reality, about our life. We are not here to convince anyone about anything. We're going to share our experience and our beliefs and what's going on in the land, and the decision is yours. If you agree with us, please stay and keep supporting us. If you don't agree with us, please stay and let's find a way either to agree to disagree or to find a way together to work for human beings. Because today, when kids are losing their life, when kids are dying every day, they don't really care about our disagreements. They want to be safe. They want to eat food. And we are here fighting over what is the name of their death. What should we call it? It's right to call it this name or that name. So we are here to tell you we don't care about the names. We care about the human beings. Our people are losing their life every day. Gaza was erased from the map. Kids are lost all their parents, their homes, their schools, their universities, their hospitals, their playgrounds, nothing there. And this is happening in 2024 after the whole international community told us after Second World War, never again. Yeah? They told us they learned the lesson and this will never happen again. But it sounds like never again. It's never again for only one people or one nation. And we are here to remind you and to remind ourselves that never again is never again for everyone. We're going to share our personal stories just to put you on our shoes and to show you how we live on the land. And then we will answer your questions and we will tell you what we think is the right thing to do to change the situation and to serve everyone living on the land, especially the people who are suffering every day. So Rotem will start like 20 minutes sharing his personal story, then my story, then your questions are welcome. Thank you for coming again. And I would love if one of the organizers takes some pictures while we talk, speaking, for the social media.
Thank you, Osama. Hey, everyone. So before I start my story, I want just to invite you to listen with open heart, to put aside for 20 minutes your perspectives, your ideas, and to listen carefully because I'm going to share my story. It might not be your story. For sure it's not your story. It might surprise you. You might not agree with everything, but this is my story. This is my truth. And what made this possible, this relationship, is our willingness to listen to each other, to listen to the pain, to the fear, to the trauma, and to stay again and again and again. It was very difficult, very triggering, but we decided, we insisted to stay and to make sure that this relationship continues, even when there is a genocide. So my story started 34 years ago. I was born in a small village in Israel, not far from Tel Aviv, and I didn't know Palestinians as a child, not as a teenager. There were no Palestinians around me, actually. In my village, we were only Jews, and in my school, we were only Jews. So maybe first time I heard about Palestinians, I was 10 years old, and I heard that there are suicide attacks. Buses are being exploded every week, and I'm scared, I'm terrified, I don't understand what is happening. How is it possible that human beings are willing to kill themselves, in order to kill me? And yeah, because I didn't know Palestinians, and they don't teach us Arabic in the Israeli school system, I couldn't understand the word in Arabic. And many times when I used to take the bus from place to place, if I heard Arabic on the bus, I was scared just from the language, because who knows what might happen. And I chose to leave the bus before the destination, just to make sure that I'm safe. And in Israel, growing up in Israel, I started to understand what it means to be an Israeli through the annual ceremonies. So every year, we have the Holocaust Memorial Day, and a week later, the National Memorial Day. And we invite the soldiers to participate in the ceremonies, in the schools and all over the country. And I remember as a child, I used to go to school in these days and see soldiers entering my school, full uniform, long weapons, and always the teachers used to welcome them with so much love and respect and appreciation. And it was like a ritual. Again and again, every year, soldiers coming, teachers welcoming them. That for me, at some point, I just realized, okay, this is normal, right? Because everyone does it. All my family were soldiers at some point of their lives. All my teachers, all my village. So for me, I started to internalize the idea that when I will be 18 years old, I will go to the army like anyone else. And then my mom started to take me to her own ceremony because her cousin was killed as a soldier. And again, similar scenario, we go to the graveyard this time, and soldiers from his unit, it was like one of the best units, elite unit, come to participate in the ceremony. And my mom now is the one who is welcoming them with so much love and respect and appreciation. And I was told, Itamar, her cousin who was killed, he was our hero. He sacrificed his life while protecting us, so we will be safe in our homeland. And I remember at some point, maybe I was 16, I started to have this inner motivation. I want to be like Itamar. I want to be a hero. I want to protect my family. I want to protect my people. Again, from these people, the Palestinians, who I don't know. I've never met Palestinians. And then at the age of 17, we in Israel, we have this national enterprise or industry, I would call it, where we, the Israeli students, we travel to see the death camps, to learn about the Holocaust, the history of our people. And I joined this trip like most of my friends. And in Poland, I've been to Auschwitz and other death camps, and I've seen the horrors, and I was shocked that this could happen just 80 years ago. And I remember the message was that the only way to deal with European anti-Semitism is by creating Jewish nationality. This is the only way we can be safe, and we cannot trust anyone to protect us. We have to do it ourselves with our own hands, otherwise no one will do it. And if we'll not go the next year when we will be 18 years old as the whole generation to serve in the army, who knows what might happen. Maybe even history might repeat itself. So I came back from Poland even more motivated. Now I know what might happen if I will not be part of the collective effort, if I will not go and serve in the army. And I joined these groups who are supposed to prepare the teenagers to the army, and I was very motivated. Now it's my turn. Now I'm going to protect my people. Now I'm going to support my people. And at the age of 18, I was recruited to the same unit as the cousin of my mom who was killed, Itamar. And I remember the reactions from everyone around me, all my family, all my friends, all my teachers, were so supportive. People were so excited that for me, I just felt, wow, I believe I'm doing the right thing. Like, it feels so good to feel so much love and appreciation. It felt like I'm walking the golden path, kind of. Somehow I managed to be accepted to the most appreciated place, let's say. And I didn't have second thoughts. I didn't have questions. I was just proud of myself. I was enlisted to the IDF, like all of my generation, age of 18. And after 2 years of very, very intense army training in this unit, my team was taken to a Palestinian village in the West Bank, the other side of the wall. And it was actually the first time I go to the West Bank, because my father always used to say, you shouldn't go there. It's dangerous, there is occupation, settlers, and if the Palestinians will know that you are Israeli, they might harm you, they might attack you. So don't go there, he used to say. And then middle of the night, a group of 15 full-armed soldiers will enter the village by foot, at the middle of the center of the village, the commander came to me and to another soldier and told us to take the shock grenades and to throw them to one of the yards. And I remember I didn't think twice. I was so focused on following the mission. I was trained to be the best soldier I can. This is what being a soldier is all about, right? You have to follow the orders the best way you can. I just took the grenade, I threw it. Again, boom, then silence. Everyone probably terrified inside the homes. And on the way back to the base, suddenly the other soldier, Nevo, came to me. And he told me, you know, Rotem, I think we shouldn't do such things. And I remember it caught me unprepared. I stood there like confused. How come I didn't think about it myself? He is right, there was no one, no human being, no immediate danger. What are we doing here, actually? And then suddenly the commander came, he heard us talking about it. And he said, guys, you are soldiers, you do what you are told to do, and this is the end of the conversation. I don't want to hear about it anymore. And again, it was one of the elite units, and we made a huge effort to be accepted to this unit, so we didn't speak about it anymore. But somehow this night stayed with me, and I cannot forget it, because again, for the first time in my life, I feel I'm doing something I'm not aligned with. I felt disconnected here inside the body. And it's a strong feeling to have, especially when you have like M16 and you just used violence and you realize that like you are doing something, but you are not really connected to what you are doing. You start to feel like this disconnection from your soul. And luckily, a year later, I was released from the army service after 3 years of mandatory service. I didn't have to fight or to shoot anyone, and I wasn't traumatized like many other soldiers. But again, I was programmed to be a soldier, and it felt like I became some kind of a robot. And I decided to take my privileged passport because we Israelis, we can travel quite freely compared to the Palestinians, and I left the land for a year like many other Israelis after the army service, and I started to self-reflect about things, about the army service. And after a year or so, I came back to the land to start medical school. And just before going to university, I met a friend who told me, you know, Rotem, I'm going to Germany to meet a group of Palestinians from the West Bank. And for me, I was so excited because I've never imagined I can meet these people. I was always told, you shouldn't cross the wall. It's very dangerous there. If they might know that you are an Israeli, they will hurt you. But actually 2 years earlier, first time I've been to the West Bank as a soldier, I was the one who used violence, not them. So I had many questions, and I was excited to go and meet these people and ask them, what's the point? Why do you keep attacking us? And in Germany, I met a group of 20 Palestinians. Most of them were born and raised in refugee camps all around the West Bank. But it was the first time I hear about refugee camps. So I asked them, what do you mean, refugee camps? And they told me, yeah, we were born and raised in refugee camps, but our grandparents are originally from where you live, from inside Israel. They called it from 48. And when the Jewish state was established, it was our Thenakba. But again, another word that I've never heard before, Nakba. So I asked them, what do you mean, Nakba? They told me, Nakba, it means catastrophe in Arabic. And this is the term we Palestinians use to describe what happened to us when the Jewish state was established. And they elaborated that over 400 villages were destroyed completely. And over 2/3 of the Palestinian population were expelled from their homes to refugee camps in Gaza, all around the West Bank, in Jordan, in Lebanon, in Syria, and later all over the globe. And many Jewish refugees came first from Europe and later from the Arab countries and took over the homes that were not destroyed. in Haifa, in Jaffa, in Jerusalem, in Karem, and other places. And for me, honestly, it was too much. I couldn't believe, how is it possible that there is such a huge gap between the narratives? How is it possible that I live all my life on this land and I've never heard about camps, about Nakba? So I was confused, but at the same time, for 10 days in Germany, we shared our stories, our pain, our fears, our traumas, our catastrophes. And I connected to these people on a very human level. They became my new friends. I witnessed them crying for hours while sharing their stories. Some of them even brought the keys of the houses that were taken or were destroyed. So I realized, okay, I'm very ignorant about these people. I don't know anything about their story. It seems like they don't make it up. And I decided to start and read about the Nakba. And very early I've learned that in Israel there is a law that prohibits schools from teaching or even mentioning the Nakba. So if you're a teacher in the Israeli school system and you will insist to teach your students about the Nakba, you will lose your job. And we have several examples. And later I learned that in Israeli theaters, you are not allowed to mention Nakba on stage, because then the theater will lose all the funds from the government. And many, many other practices that Israel uses every day to erase the Palestinian narrative, which is understandable, right? For us, it's much easier to justify our violence as self-defense when there is no context to the violence of the other side. If Israelis will know that 70% of Gaza are actually refugees from 48, it will be more difficult to dehumanize and to call them names and to justify whatever is happening in Gaza right now. And then I was very emotional to realize, wow, there is a whole reality here, just 1 hour from my home, and I wasn't aware about anything. And I started to reflect about my life on the land. Every year I used to celebrate our independence. We have festivals, parties, fireworks, like your 4th of July maybe. But suddenly my Palestinian friends are telling me, you know, we live next to you, we see your festivals, but for us we feel as if you celebrate our catastrophe, our ethnic cleansing. And it was painful to realize that I was so ignorant my whole life. And I came back to the land from Germany, and I was trying to talk to my family and to my friends about this experience. And it was very challenging. It was very, very challenging. People were very intimidated by these names and became very defensive. And neither of us had the capacity, the emotional capacity, to hold space for each other. And for me it was very painful because I realized in one moment when I bring this topic, there is no one. No one is interested to listen. And it's painful to realize that you lose your support system in one moment, once you want to speak about a political topic. But luckily I was lucky enough to find activists, Israelis and Palestinians, who understand that now the first step forward is to recognize each other's humanity. The pain, the fear, the trauma, and the process. What is actually happening on the land since 1948? Because it's the same thing. The Nakba has never stopped. It's exactly the same processes of ethnic cleansing since 1948 until today. Actually, if you look at the numbers, today we are at the peak. If you compare the numbers, how many people were ethnic cleansed in 48? How many people lost their homes now in Gaza? 50 times more. Okay? How many people were killed in 48? How many people were killed today in Gaza the last year? Who knows? But at least 7, 8, 10 times more. So I just want all of us to understand what is coming, because we are going to deal with consequences of that. It will be much more horrific than what we know. Okay, the numbers are much higher, and it's going to be horrific, and we don't have time to lose. We need to stop it yesterday. We need to stop it yesterday because now everyone is in danger. The whole region is in danger, and we are in a downhill. It might get worse and worse, and we need your help to stop it. And then I moved to the West Bank to live with my Palestinian friends, which you can imagine how, like, my family felt, like that I lost my mind. They were very scared what is happening with Rotem. And for me, I just felt I want to show my family, my friends, that there are people on the other side of the wall. Maybe you don't know them, but they are human beings like us. And they have fears, and they have emotions, and they have different reality. They live under military occupation. And I believe that once I will recognize their reality and their suffering, they will recognize me. And this is what happened. I moved to this town, on the other side of the wall, and I started to get to know more and more people and to have friends. And after 6 months, I could understand and speak Arabic. And suddenly I can take the bus from place to place. The bus is full of Palestinians. Only Arabic is being heard on the bus. And I'm not terrified as much as I used to be. As a child, I can stay until the destination because I know no one is going to attack me. It's just in my head. And of course, it's not just in my head. There is a lot of hate these days on the land. But the fear, it controls our consciousness. And it makes it 100 times bigger than what's actually happening in reality. And then more time, and I get to know more people, and suddenly my perspective changes. I can see us living together on the same land, sharing the land, but we cannot share the land under this system. We just cannot. It's not possible. This wall, I used to call it the security wall. I thought it is there to protect me. But suddenly my Palestinian friends are telling me, for us it's the apartheid wall. They built the wall very close to our homes. This way they confiscated all our olive trees. And we lost our ancestral income. Now we are dependent on their permits. So they let us work for them. And now since October there are no permits. So people in the West Bank are starving. They don't have how to bring food to their children. And then in the weekend I want to go to Tel Aviv, to the beach, right? So I take my car, I drive 1 hour, I cross the checkpoint. I'm Jewish, I can cross easily. And in 1 hour I'm at the beach in Tel Aviv. But I cannot take my Palestinian friends with me because they are not citizens, they are not residents, they are stateless, right? So you have a whole generation now in the West Bank, 20, 25, 30 years old. They have never seen the beach just because they are not Jews. Just let it sink. So whenever someone tells you this is not apartheid, now you know how to answer it. And then I wanted to bring them with me to the beach because this is the normal thing to do. Like, they are my friends. I want to take them with me so they see the beach. Just imagine, 1 hour from the beach, they've never seen the beach. So I take them, I sneak them in with me in my car, and then after 10 times, they caught us, the soldiers. And they took us to the police station at the Ariel. It's like the biggest settlement in the West Bank. And what happened there, I think it represents perfectly the system and what has to be changed so we can live in peace together. I was left outside of this police station, under the stars. I had my phone. And whenever they needed me, they called me to the office for a few questions, and I go back to the stars. My Palestinian friend was interrogated the whole night in a small dark room, no cigarettes, no phone. And 6 a.m. they called me. They told me, if you want him to be out, you have to pay a few thousand shekels, and you are not allowed to take him back to his village, which was like 10 miles. He has to walk 10 miles because he cannot even get a ride, right? In the middle of the settlement, Palestinians cannot get rides. So he has to walk 10 miles. You are going from here directly to your village inside the Green Line, and you're not allowed to enter the West Bank for 2 months now. And this night represents perfectly because I was treated like a human being because I'm Jewish, and my Palestinian friend was treated like, I don't know, because he's not Jewish. And this has to be changed. If we want to live together, if we want to share the land, if we want peace, we need to be equals. We cannot live on top of each other. It's not sustainable. People will resist, will fight for their freedom, for their equality. This is a normal instinct of human beings. We saw it everywhere, also here. When the colonizer came, the indigenous people fought back, and we Jews, we fought back the Nazis, and everywhere when there is discrimination, there is the resistance. So now what we need to understand together first what is happening on the land, because it seems like people are confused. So this is the situation, and now we need to build a coalition and to change the narrative. We need equality. We need equality. Without equality, there is no peace. There will not be peace without equal system where everyone is included and when everyone feels that this system serves them and they are part of the system. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So this is one side of the story, how to live on the Israeli side, and I'm going to share the other side, the Palestinian side. For me, I was born in East Jerusalem, and since I was a little kid, I used to hear about the Thenakba, the catastrophe. My grandmother used to share with us what happened to her and her family and her village in 1938. She used to share memories of the village. It's called Lifta, 20 minutes away from Jerusalem. She said, we used to live there, and we had a lot of Jewish neighbors around us, actually, around the village. And we were always living in peace. We had big fields of olives. We had a big spring. We used to celebrate the olive festival every year, and horses dancing in the middle of the village. And everyone was happy until the European Jews start to come. And then they attacked us many times, and the leaders of the village asked us to leave for a few days, and then we will come back. We left everything, and we took the key, and we never back. And she was always sharing this with tears and fears. And that makes me terrified of the Jewish people as a little child, even though I never met them. Then I started to hear more stories about 67 war. Yeah. The rest of my family, my grandfather family, they live in Silwan, in East Jerusalem. 67 war, they left to Jordan. They ran away from the war. Israel opened the borders to them to leave. And then when they make sure they all are in Jordan, they closed the borders and no one was allowed to come back. My grandfather was the only crazy one about Jerusalem and about the land. So he sneaked back from the Dead Sea area. They slept in the fields for 3 days with his 12 children and his wife and his mom to go back to Jericho first, because they had a winter house in Jericho, and then to Jerusalem. When I was 8 years old, my father was outside Jerusalem working for a few years, and there is law in East Jerusalem for Arabs only. If any Arab live outside Jerusalem municipality borders more than 3 to 5 years, Israel can cancel his or her residency, because Palestinians in East Jerusalem are not citizens. Yeah? If you are Jewish, no matter where you live, you are a full citizen of the country. If you live inside the Green Line, if you live in East Jerusalem, if you live illegal settlement against the international law, if you live in outpost against the Israeli law, you still have all the rights. But if you are Arab, You receive rights according to your geographic place. Yeah? Either second-class citizen, like 2 million Palestinians living inside the Green Line, or residency, like the Jerusalemite, or stateless, like my situation in West Bank or in Gaza. So my father lost his right. We moved to Jericho. It was the end of the 80s. For me, it wasn't a big deal to move to Jericho. I did not understand what's going on. But when I started to go to school, the first days going to school, I started to see soldiers standing in front of the school, sometimes on the building on the other side of the street. First day, they stopped me and they asked me questions and they talked to me in a language that I don't understand. For me, they were Western soldiers. I don't know anything about them. I don't know where they came from or what is their language, and I was terrified of them. And after they opened my backpack and they searched it and they asked me questions and I cried and I couldn't answer, they just left. I collected my stuff because they throw everything on the ground. I collected my stuff and I went back home. Crying, terrified. I didn't go to school. On the way to school, I was hiding. I was hiding because I was terrified to see soldiers. Again, when I arrived home, I asked my mom. I told her the story, and she said, they are the Jews. And for me, that was the first image for the Jewish people. That was the only way I have seen the Jewish people. Full armed soldiers. And that's all what I knew about them most of my life. Every day when I go to school, soldiers over there. I used to come from the backyard sometimes, from the field sometimes, so they don't stop me. And if any older student throws stone or empty bottle or any object at them, even though they were far and it never reached them, they target the school by tear gas. Every other day we used to run from the backyard of the school carrying our backpacks, terrified, running between the fields because we can't go to the street. They are in the streets, and carrying onions against our nose because our parents told us onions can help you from the tear gas. Yeah? I was always with tears, but I wasn't sure these tears are from the tear gas or the onions or the fears. And when I arrived home, my mom used to hide me under the bed or to enter to the shower and take all my school uniform and put them in the washing machine so the soldiers, if they come after me, they don't find out that I'm from the school, I'm a student. Situation like this happened every day. We all were traumatized. We all were afraid to go to school. Few weeks after, the army commander decided to close all of the schools of Jericho. Why? Because we Palestinians live under military rules. It means the army can decide to us everything. They can decide to close the schools. They can decide to open the schools. They can decide to give us permits, IDs, everything. If we need any services from the government, we go to the military. For me, it was actually nice not to go to school every day, but that did not end the situation. Every day, soldiers used to walk after sunset, sometimes after midnight. Soldiers walk in our neighborhoods with weapons, with radios and flags, and they were like show off and proud. And if any of the neighbors come from the field and throw stone or bottles or whatever, they used to run after the youth who are trying to throw stones at them and to shoot at them. I used to hear tear gas and bullets from my bed. And we always were not allowed to leave the bed, because if you turn the light on, soldiers will come into the house and they will search and they will take everyone over 16 years old to clean and swab the streets. 1 second. Yeah, so every day, my father used to tip the window, tip the glass, so the glass don't fall on us. Even in my bed, I used to have onion in my hand, in my bed, because we smelled the tear gas from our beds. One day they entered to our house, they break into the house, and in the middle of the night, it was dark. I saw soldiers with their lights and their weapons and full uniform, and they took my father in front of us, and they were pushing him with a lot of violence, and my mom tried to help. They pushed my mom back, and I felt so broken, and I was crying with my sisters, hugging them, and I couldn't do anything. I felt the Jewish people attacked the strongest person in my life, the security of my life, the one who I used to feel safe when he's around. And somehow all the fears I was carrying from them shifted to hate and anger, and I wanted to do something. But we don't have army, we don't have special units. How are we gonna do something? So I started, like everyone, thinking, what is the way to resist? And I found out that people are writing graffitis on the walls to trigger them. So I decided with my friends to collect money. We collected money, and we bought spray color, and we hid it. And after midnight, when I made sure that my family are sleeping, I jumped off of the roof with another two friends, and we wrote outside on the wall, "Free Palestine." In the morning, when I saw it still there and the soldiers didn't come to take me, I was so happy to see "Free Palestine," even though, to be honest with you, by then, I wasn't very educated about Palestine and free Palestine, and I wasn't even fighting to free Palestine. For me, I was trying to trigger the soldier who's beating my teachers in the school, shooting at my school, terrifying my sisters, demolishing the house of our neighbors, arresting the father of my friend, my two friends were killed at the age of 14. And this soldier, for me, represents Judaism. I did it few times, and it was amazing to feel this feeling, and then we decided to do something bigger, like something can trigger them more. So we decided to make a Palestinian flag, which was taboo by then and forbidden. So we collected shirts from our parents. Everyone decided to bring different color, and we cut it and we sew it. It was very confusing to decide if we should put the black on the top or on the bottom, because we haven't seen flags before, but we did it according to our hearts. And then after midnight again, I climbed one of the highest trees in the neighborhood, and I tied the flag on the top of the tree. And in the other day in the morning, seeing the flag and the soldiers walking under it, and they couldn't take it down, it was an amazing feeling. Yeah? Even though a lot of people complained the flag is upside down. But for me, that was good enough to trigger them, and it was good enough for them to arrest us. And as Palestinian, if you get arrested, they give you two choices. They don't give you, they choose to you. The first choice is to be administrative prisoner. If there is no guilt, they keep you as administrative prisoner. What is administrative prisoner? Since 1967, we, 5 million Palestinians, living under something called military rules and administrative detention. It means the army commander can decide to kidnap any Palestinian man or woman from their home, take them to jail from 1 day up to 3 years without trial. And if we are lucky and they will take us to the court, we will go to something called military court, where the army commander is the judge. And if you want to educate yourself more about this, there is an Israeli documentary called The Laws in These Parts, in English. In Hebrew, Shilton HaChok. In Israeli jail, my whole life changed. I was 14 years old kid. I was a good student in the school. I was beautiful child for his mom, love his mom, sleeping in her arms every day. I became a tough, violent, different person. I learned everything about Zionism. I learned everything happened to us in 48. I learned how much village they destroyed and how many Palestinians they killed and how many women they raped and how many people they buried alive. And I went out with a lot of hate. And I wanted to take revenge, but this time I was with ideology, not against the soldier, against the whole system. And I wanted to fight against them. I started throwing stones, Molotov cocktails, doing everything possible. Then we started to hear about peace agreement called Oslo Agreement. I wasn't sure what is peace agreement, but for me, I wanted to feel peace as a child. I wanted to live in peace. What is peace? I wanted to leave my house after the sunset and feel safe, because every day after sunset we have curfew. I wanted to go to playground and play basketball. There were nothing like this. I want to go to theater. There were no theaters. I wanted to go to park. There were no parks. You know, we live in a war zone. And the whole world expected from us to act like we live in Switzerland. Yeah, so I didn't know what is the peace agreement, but one day I went out. If you remember, Oslo was Jericho, Gaza first. I went out and I saw thousands of Palestinians in the streets celebrating with flags, with Palestinian flags, slaughtering goats, sharing food. Everyone is happy, everyone is celebrating. And I said, what happened? They said, we're going to take a country. And there is no Israeli soldiers in our streets anymore. You can leave whenever you want, leave your house and come back. I felt so happy. I felt that's what I wanted in my life. I just wanted to feel safe in my town at least. And I joined the Palestinian Authority to make sure that this peace works and to support the peace agreement. And after a few years of being in the authority, I started to find out that this peace is not really working the way we expect from it to work. First, the countries who offered us Oslo, like the Americans and the Germans, did not recognize us until today. Second, since we signed for peace, they are confiscating our lands in our peace, piece by piece. Every day they build settlements and the number of the settlers is rising. How are they going to give us this land as long as they are taking it every day and building settlements every day? The number of the settlers raised from 100,000 to 650,000. I felt very disappointed from the Palestinian Authority and I quit and I left and I was thinking, what's the next step? And what can we do? One day, I was in an internet cafe sitting with friends, searching, and I started to hear people shouting outside. I didn't know what's going on. I tried to look, and then I saw full-armed people, like a Palestinian woman. They look like a Palestinian woman, but they carry weapons. And I found out that they are special units. They are wearing like women undercover, and they entered to the city and they started to shoot and they shot 2 people and they killed them in front of my eyes. It was like never seen human being dying in front of me, just was standing talking to me. And then they took all of us, handcuffed, blindfold inside a jeep to an army base, and they kept us outside for 3 days. The handcuffs they use is plastic handcuffs. If you know the things you tied the cables in your car. Yeah? And it was very tight, and I was begging them, just open it. I can't feel my fingers. No one was listening. After 3 days, we were released, and when they took it off, I looked at my hands, and my hands were like 3 times the size of my normal hands. And they were blue-black. And I couldn't move. I thought I lost my hands, and I was crying all the way back home. And when I arrived home, my mom was preparing herself to receive my body because she did not know who was killed. They don't tell us who was killed and who was arrested. And she was crying for 3 days, waiting her son body, her only son body to come. And I felt so angry, and I felt I am target no matter what. They wanted to kill me. They could have killed me now, no matter what. And if I'm gonna die, I will die as a hero. I will die defending my land, and my mother should not be the only mother who's gonna cry. I'm gonna hurt them first. And I joined the resistance again, where I lost most of my friends. Every day we used to sit and talk and wonder who's gonna die tomorrow. It's your turn, it's my turn. Who's gonna take care of my parents? Who's gonna take care of your kids? Who's gonna take care of my sisters? Guys, please don't forget my mom, she's alone. And for us, we were not afraid of death, to be honest. We were afraid to die before we heard them. But death for us was the shortcut to freedom. It was the only way you can feel free. 2007, the Palestinian Authority and the Israelis and the Americans decided to go back to negotiate, and the Palestinian Authority forced everyone to stop fighting and to stop all kinds of resistance. We did, and I went back to continue my education to my college until 2010. 2010, I went to Bethlehem to visit a friend, and it was snowing, it was very cold. And I wanted to go back to my warm town. But we don't have a very good public transportation, as you know. So I was waiting in the street looking for someone to take me back to Jericho. Suddenly, one of my friends was entering to Bethlehem. He was a fighter, and he has 3 bullets in his back. And I jumped on his car, and I told him, man, take me with you. Where are you going? I want to go back to Jericho. Are you going today? He said, yeah, I'm going to Peace Conference. And we have a warm dinner, and then I'm going back home. For me, it was a good offer, you know, like Peace Conference and warm dinner and ride back home. But I didn't know what is Peace Conference and what you mean by Peace Conference. He said, it's a group of peace activists talking about peace. I said, oh man, that's interesting. I would love to see how peace activists look like and what language they speak. And I was wondering if my English is good enough to speak to the peace activists or not. And I went with him, and I went to the room excited, and I saw the first thing come to my eye is a man sitting with yarmulke on his head, kibbah. And I stepped back immediately, and I said, Ahmad, this is not our room. And he looked, and he said, it is our room. I said, what do you mean? You told me peace activists, and there are Jews there. He said, yeah, some Jews believe in peace. Are you insane, man? What do you mean believe in peace? How are they going to believe in peace? They killed their own prime minister because he signed peace agreement, you silly. How are they going to listen to us? And because, you know, I'm the only right narrative, and my beliefs are the only beliefs, and everyone else is naive, I went out, and I was cursing my friend, waiting for him to come out. And suddenly I heard an Israeli woman speaking Hebrew and someone translating her to Arabic. She said, my name is Jaffa Sulaimani. I believe we, the Jewish people, have suffered during history and discriminated all the time. We have the right to be safe and to live somewhere safe. But I don't understand who gave us the right to control other people's life and discriminate them according to their faith, and keep them under different rules and different rights than us, and not giving them anything and expect from them to accept us. And when they scream, we use iron fist against them. This is not the Judaism I want to be part of. This is not the country I wanted to serve. And if we agree with her or not, for me that was Wow. How come there is a good Jew? Israel showed me how evil they are, how much weapons they have, how dark jails they have, how tough they can be, how bad they can be, but they never tried to show me a good Jewish person or to create any space for Palestinians and Jews to meet as human beings and to learn each other, languages and cultures and narratives. And I went back home with a crack in my narrative. How come there's good person in these people? How come they recognize my narrative? How come she recognized what happened to me? They always have excuses. It was land without people to people without land. Yeah, they are living in my grandmother's house and they keep saying it's land without people to people without land. Who built this house, for God's sake, if there were no people on the land? And how come God promised you my grandmother's house? And I went back trying to understand this change happened in my life. And after 3 months, I decided to go again to meet another group of peace activists. And I was wondering if I can find the second good Jew maybe in my life. Yeah, and I went back and I met a group of Israeli soldiers. They used to be soldiers and they refused to serve as soldiers. And they sign a sheet that they will never serve in this army. And they said, my brother, we are with you. We don't agree with what our government is doing. And we recognize your catastrophe. We recognize your Nakba. We recognize what our people done to your people. We apologize and we take responsibility. And we are willing to fight with you, yeah, to reach your rights and to reach your freedom. Because our freedom is bound up with yours. Because we can't feel free as long as you are not free. And I was again, who are these people? How come they exist? And why this government never showed us these? I know they are minority, but why we don't see them? Yeah, and since then I started to meet more and more Israelis, and I started to learn their language. I learned Hebrew, and I became fluent in Hebrew, and I decided to show these Israelis more about our life. I decided to show them what is life under occupation and what it means to be born and to live under military rules all your life. So I created a group with friends called Visit Palestine. And I started to bring mostly Israeli Jewish people to our cities, to Jericho, to Ramallah, to Nablus, to everywhere. First, to show them that we Palestinians are human beings. We are not something else, not beasts. Yeah? And if you come to us without weapon, no one going to attack you. If you come to us without uniform, we're going to recognize your humanity. Second, I want to show them that we woke up every day in the morning to go to schools, to build houses, to go to work, to go to business. We are the most educated people in the Middle East, if you don't know. Yeah? We have the best agriculture, even though our lands are stolen every day. We have the best olive oil in the world, even though your settlers are burning and cutting our trees every day. We love life. No one woke up in the morning to sharpen their knives and looking for Jews to stab them. We love life as long as it's possible. But when you keep us under this situation, we will fight back. We will never accept it. And this is not only because of us, because that's the nature of a human being. If you ignore my existence, you're going to face my resistance. Thank you so much. Thank you. So we would love to hear your questions. Who we're going to take care of?
Just not everyone together.
No, wait.
Maybe I'll add one thing. I am a Palestinian. I was born in Jerusalem. I live here in the U.S. now. But as a Jerusalemite, to get residency, as soon as you get a green card or if you get out of the country, that's it, you lose it right away. So I have to go as a visitor now.
Yeah. Of course, you lose your ID if you are Palestinian as Jerusalemite. She's living in the United States, for example. Actually, I will tell you some. Sorry? There were no question. There were no question. She just said she's from Jerusalem and she lives here and she lost her ID. Now she goes as a visitor. And that's, yeah, every Palestinian Jerusalemite live outside the country. They will lose their ID, and Israel will either give them visa to visit their homeland or to send them back and to refuse their entrance. And this only for Arabs, by the way, in the only democracy in the Middle East.
And this is just a small part of the puzzle, right? Because every Jewish person, no matter where he is from, can buy a flight ticket to Tel Aviv Ben Gurion. He will get immediately on the spot citizenship. He will be number one. He is not from there, he doesn't speak Hebrew, he is not from the land, he has never been there, but he is full citizen. Palestinians who were lost their homes, were expelled from their homeland just 8 years ago, they live in camps all around. They cannot come visit from Lebanon, Syria, Jordan. So this is another component of the apartheid. The Jews are allowed to come, to live, to have full rights. The Palestinians, she's lucky that she can come and visit. Many cannot even come and visit.
They're going to give you the mic. 1 second. Just raise your hand until they come with the mic. Yes. Thank you. Here. Yes.
So why did the Israeli government let you out of the country?
Why what?
Why? They know you're coming here and you're talking this and you're saying these things that they don't want. I presume the Israeli government does not want you to say what you said tonight. So why did they let you out of the country?
First, I hope they don't know unless someone send them a report that I'm here. Yeah. And second, it's not, they don't always let me out of the country. I could be or I could be arrested now on my way back, so don't call it. Why they allow me to go? And sometimes I want to ask you why they will allow some peace activists to speak. Because they know when we speak to people like you, like him, like you agree with us or not agree with us, but they don't feel the danger yet. They don't feel that you are doing serious steps to change the situation. So to give you somehow to imagine they are democracy and they allow the freedom of speech, but if the freedom of speech will somehow affect them, they will prevent us. And I don't know if next time I will be able to leave, and I don't know if I will be able to go back home or to go to administrative detention when I go back home.
Thank you for your work. I'm from the Middle East, and maybe a little bit older than you, and I've been following the conflict for many years. From what I see, it looks like things have been getting worse and worse. The number of people who are like you, who are trying to come together and pursue non-violent means to solve the problem is diminishing on both sides. And especially after what has been happening in the past year. I was wondering, how do you keep hope and how do you retain your belief in what you're doing? What keeps you going? Because I really feel I'm losing hope that there will be a solution. So it will be helpful to know how you, who are, of course, suffering much more than we are here, keep your hope in the method that you're pursuing. Thank you.
It's a great question. I think it's a question that everyone deals with these days. How can we find hope? How can we stay hopeful? For me, hope is a choice. It's not a feeling or something that just comes up suddenly, you know? We cannot follow the news and the reality and just suddenly feel hope. We have to choose hope. We have to choose action. We have to create the reality that we want to see, and it will not happen in one day, and it might not happen in our lifetime. But we have to do it for our children. We have to do it for the next generation. And we have to do it because what's the alternative? Depression. It just, do I want to be depressed, or do I want to do something to give myself the feeling that I have agency and I can do a small change? And if we will do small change and we will connect with each other, and another small change and another small change, and we will empower each other, then we will start to see the change. But again, this system is all about division and separation and capitalism. Like, we don't have communities anymore, right? So it's very easy to control us. And yeah, I think it's our responsibility now to choose hope, to choose action, and to help and support each other until we can see the change that we want to see.
Yeah, I will say for me, I am very disappointed, actually, because, I grew up in a small village. We Palestinians don't have the privileged passports to fly everywhere in the world like our neighbors. Yeah, Israelis can fly everywhere in the world, everywhere, even to America, to Germany, to all these democracies. Israelis can take even the Israeli settler who is against the international law can take his passport and come to Germany and America without visa. Yeah, because they are the supremacy, because they are the right race. For me, I grew up in this small village with a few goats and our donkey, and life was easy and simple. And I didn't know a lot of things. And then somehow, at the age of 30, I flew first time in my life outside the bubble to see the world. And I have seen this Western world, and they told me that this world is perfect. They have human rights, and they have animals' rights, and they have women's rights, and they have children's rights, and they have gays' rights, and all the rights. And I say, wow, I would love to be part of this beautiful world. And now I am very disappointed that all these beliefs fail. Yeah. Human rights is human rights according to your race. If you are the right one, you will have human rights. If you are the wrong race, you will not have human rights, or you will not be counted as a human. But to be honest with you, I don't have the privilege to lose hope. Yeah, thank you.
So I got the microphone. I have so many questions, but I'd like to just ask two, I think. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for everything that you've shared. So one question is about, to me, the basic point is winning Israeli hearts and minds. That's what I think is what changes. So I have two daughters, and sometimes, despite what people say about, oh, you've got two sons, they are always fighting.
I can't understand a single word. Come closer, please.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you.
Really? You can't hear that?
No. Come closer and speak slowly. We are not Native Americans. Thank you.
Okay. So what I was going to say is that my daughters argue, and I remind them that genetically, they're the closest things to one another, and after all the rest of us are gone, they'll have each other. So I wonder about winning Israeli hearts and minds, that genetically, is that possibly an avenue for conversation? Like genetically, that people who live in Palestine and Israeli, that they're so close. Right. So that's one question. And the other question is, what can Americans do? So my Palestinian friends tell me, email your senators every single day to try to ask that we not fund what's happening in Palestine. And I don't think that that seems like that worthwhile, but I said, okay, I'll do that because you asked me to. So those are the two questions. Does that make enough sense?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. So, about genetically, I don't know what to answer. I don't think it's gonna help if we find out. But I will tell you my experience in life. I am Palestinian. I was born and raised as Palestinian. When I was 35 years old, my grandfather was dying, and he told me a secret, that his mother was Jewish. And his mother is a refugee in Jordan. Yeah? But they couldn't say she's Jewish because Jews became the bad nation in the land, so they couldn't say. And then I was wondering who's Jewish and who's not, and I went with someone to make a study in South Hebron Hills, someone like he's a historian, professor, and we did the study, and we find out most of the Palestinian communities, originally, they were Jews. And they converted to Christianity and to Islam during history, especially during the Ottomans' control for 400 years. They preferred to stay in the land, so they convert to Islam. But I don't know how if this can help or not to understand this. But I want to tell you, I did DNA check, and I promise you, I'm more Jewish than most of the settlers who came from Russia and Ethiopia, if we want to talk about Judaism. Yeah. The second thing was what you Americans can do. I am asking you what you can do, what you think you can do. First of all, if you don't know what's going on over there and you are confused about the realities on the ground and you think maybe something we say is right and something wrong and you don't know who to believe, I invite you to use your privileged passport and to take a flight and to come to the land and to live in South Hebron Hills, in Jordan Valley, around Nablus for 2 weeks. You will understand everything and you will come to speak here instead of me. That's the first thing. Educate yourself about what's going on, about what's right and what's wrong. Because the conflict is not Muslim-Jewish conflict. It's not about they want to make it Muslim-Jewish. The Zionists are using the pain and the trauma and the suffering of the Jewish people to protect their project. Yeah? And the first thing we need to understand that Judaism has nothing to do with occupation, and being against occupation has nothing to do with anti-Semitism. Second, you know what you can do. If you are a teacher, teach the kids about the truth, not about me. If you are, artist, make art to explain and tell what's going on with the children. If you talk to children, tell them that there are children dying under the rubble and no one is there to help them. Teach the children that their government is sending tons of weapons to kill everyone in the world, in Iraq, in Vietnam, in Gaza, and you still don't have health insurance, and you still don't have free education. Yeah. Tell them it's better to collect the homeless from the streets, and much better than killing children in Gaza and everywhere else, because this will reach you in the end, and then we will call it Islamophobia, that Muslims came to kill us because they hate us. Yeah? Second thing. Third thing, I will say, a lot of people told me in America, 50% of the Americans don't agree with what our government is doing. Yeah? What we can do? What can we do? Write letters to your senators. Someone said, yeah, but they don't answer. I said, yeah, if they don't answer, keep writing it. And they said, but they don't answer. So don't vote to them next time, because you hire them. Make them feel in danger. Yeah? And you will not make change and change the situation as long as you're sitting on your laptop and you think you're going to change the world by typing things on your keyboard. If you want to make change, go out and shout loud and close the train stations and the streets and the bus stations and freeze the life here in order to push the government to make change. Make big strikes. You said 50% of the Americans don't agree. If 25% of the Americans go out and close the streets, the system will change tomorrow.
Yeah, just one more thing. I think each of us has agency over ourselves, basically. And it's much easier to shout and to blame the others and the external world for our problems. And it's much more difficult to actually look inside and to see where I am violent, where I am aggressive, where I don't care for the environment, for the kids of the neighbor, for someone who doesn't look like me. And I think there actually the real change will happen. And I think, yeah, for you now it's much easier to blame Trump for everything, right? The Democrats are angels. So, like, let's first be the light we want to see before we, like, accuse the others to be the darkness. I think it's more, it takes a lot of effort, but this is where the real change will start from.
Good.
Yes.
You have the microphone, please.
Two questions. I've heard that in Israel, after the Hamas attack, that many people who wanted peace or who were working to recognize Palestinian rights, the mood shifted, and now Israel has unified behind, the Israeli Defense Force and also behind Netanyahu. So that's one thing I want to know about. What's happened to the peace movement in Israel itself? That's the first thing. And then as far as what we can do, how about this economic boycott idea, especially this idea of blocking fuel shipments to Israel as a tactic, like okay. We did with apartheid in South Africa?
Thank you. So, first I think that now every nonviolent action is welcomed, and we need to use everything we can to put as much pressure as possible, because my government is not interested, not in peace, not in ending the war, not in bringing the hostages back. If we will keep waiting for them to stop the war, we will wait forever. So any pressure is welcomed and is necessary, and we are asking for it. The Israelis are asking for international pressure. Okay? By putting pressure on the government, you are actually protecting the Israelis, okay, from this fascist government. About the peace movement. The peace movement in 7th of October, I think it was very traumatizing for Israelis. It touched the wound, this historical wound, and people felt, and again, the indoctrination and the old media, they work day and night to create a picture as if like the Palestinians are trying to eliminate us, and they call them Nazis, and all of this, you know that, I believe. And it was very difficult for Israelis, because many of them were called to go and serve in the army. And again, the army, like I've mentioned, the army is our protector. The army is above politics in Israel. You have right wing, maybe you have left wing, and above it you have the army. No one dares to challenge the army. It's our protection. So right now it's very difficult for Israelis to keep calling for peace, but I think that during the last year there is something interesting happening that has never happened before, that like a real left is actually going out to the street. Maybe it's not as big as the demonstrations against the judicial people, but still you see people who are actually leftist for the first time in the history of the state are calling the the elephant in its name, saying apartheid, saying genocide, saying ethnic cleansing, not speaking about two-state solution is our red line, like it used to be. Okay, so I see hope. I see people who are actually waking up. It's still the minority, of course, but I think more and more people are realizing what this government is about, and more people find the courage to speak up. Still, it's not enough because, again, we live in the Middle East and Israelis don't feel safe. They don't feel safe now, and it's difficult like to speak against the army, so who will protect us? You know, it's sensitive, but I see more and more people speaking up. Yeah.
It's on. Okay. I'm somebody who, in the past year, has done all these, protests and rallies, etc. And I think a lot of us, especially in Madison, because it's so small, feel like we need to do something else. So I just wanted to mention the boycott, divest, sanction efforts. And if you are interested, you could find Madison Rafa Sister City Project, as well as Jewish Voice for Peace and other groups, and we're all working together. There is a divestment group, and there's also a group that is trying to fight the anti-BDS law that is in the books for the state of Wisconsin. There's been successes all over this country and around the world for divestment, and I think that's like a really important tactic, so I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think this is a very strong tool. First of all, I want to thank Jewish Voice for Peace and all the Jewish people all around the world who are standing for justice. Not because I'm Palestinian, because I'm a human. Yeah. And I want to thank you and say thank you for showing us and protecting your Judaism from Zionism. Yeah. And showing us the mercy and the humanity in Judaism, unlike these criminal governments who showed me always the evil, and keep standing to prevent them of representing Judaism. First thing. Second thing, yes, boycott. I know it's dangerous for me as Palestinian to say boycott in this country, but I do not care. They can take my visa, they can take me to jail. I don't care when my people are massacred. I don't care about visa, I don't care about things. And that's what I'm saying to everyone. You can't change by sitting on your comfortable sofas. You have to take risks. Maybe you're going to lose your job. Maybe you're going to lose part of your salary. Maybe you're going to lose some of your career. If you don't do this, you will never be able to make change. And boycott is a legal tool. Even the Jewish people used it. Yeah, after Holocaust, the Jewish people did not buy any cars from Germany. Right? They boycott everything coming from Germany. And the Africans boycott, and the whole world support them. Suddenly, we Palestinians, if we resist violently, we are terrorists. And if we boycott and resist non-violently, we are anti-Semite. So I don't know which way. So yeah, thank you so much for mentioning this. And it's very important and powerful tool.
And also the Jews can be anti-Semites. Just, I don't know if you know, but I was called many times anti-Semite in Germany. So yeah, they invent like laws that I don't know where they bring it from, but we have to be very consistent because, again, we fight against governments. They try to change the meaning of anti-Semitism. It's as crazy as like whatever, you know, it's like unbelievable. So we have to educate our children because if they go to the schools, they will probably learn something else. And we have to show them the reality because they are trying to change the reality, actually. And yeah, and don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. We need each and every one of you.
Hi.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here tonight, and thank you, everyone who organized this event. I've been an activist around Palestine, Israel for 45 years, since I sat in my living room in Illinois and met with my neighbor who taught me what Zionism meant to him. And I spent many, many hours listening to him about what Zionism meant to him as a Jew. And then I came to the University of Wisconsin and I met Palestinians. And so I attribute my interest in what I started doing to curiosity, first of all, but to the question of what we can do. First of all, coming here tonight is the first step for those who are fairly new to this struggle. Secondly, I was going to say what Sila was saying, which is look up online the work of Jewish Voice for Peace. I personally am so inspired by what that group does, because 40-some years ago, when Alan Ruff and others and I were protesting downtown, there was no such thing as a group called Jewish Voice for Peace. You were an anti-Semite if you resisted, fought against what's going on in Palestine. So Jewish Voice for Peace, and we have, as Sila also said, the Madison Rafah Sister City program. We have a Sister City program with Rafah. It's pretty remarkable. Learn about it. Another thing I would suggest is go online and listen to Gabor Mate. You all know the work of Gabor Mate. He's a brilliant man who has visited Palestine. He cried going there. He talks about it. He talks about what Zionism is and what it isn't. He's been a huge inspiration for me. The third thing I would say is read the Palestinian author Rashid al-Khalidi, who wrote 100 Years' War on Palestine. These are things probably that we should be doing. We should be educating ourselves and starting to talk to our neighbors. And thank you again so much. I'm so inspired to see the two of you work together. This has been like I said, 45 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have a question. When I talk to my family members in Israel who are Jewish, but not religious Jewish, and they have been protesting their government since before October 7th because they do not agree with their government. What is something that you would suggest? I mean, I have seen lots of films and read books and read things. What is something that you might suggest that I could tell them, or, a resource? They read Haaretz, that would kind of move them further into maybe taking more action or being more assertive with the things that they are doing? Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah. So my parents, they also demonstrate since 2 years against the government before 7th of October. And a few months ago, my father was beaten by police officers. And I'm trying to talk to them, to radicalize them, because they are still Zionists and they still believe that this state somehow protects them. And for me, it's just difficult. I cannot go to these demonstrations where there is an ocean of Israeli flags and they call for democracy. It's just contradiction for me, But for most of the Israelis, even the liberals, I believe yours are like liberal Zionists, they think that it's a Jewish and democratic state, which for me is oxymoron. You cannot be Jewish and democratic. You have to choose. The problem now is that, again, this is the base. For Israeli Zionism, Jewish majority is safety. And now we see what Zionism became. It became fascist movement. So we have to find ways to meet the people and to create a space where people can stretch their beliefs, their ideologies. And for me, what helps me is to listen, to first let them the opportunity to speak, to explain what Zionism means for them, why they need this flag to feel safe, maybe. And then to show them that I care for them, that I really care for them, and I do it because I care for my family's safety first and foremost, This is why I'm here, because I know that this system endangers their future. No one will be safe under this system. No one. And it's a lot of work and a lot of patience, because again, just imagine, I will tell you, America, you have to let go of this idea of this state, because it's not fair. It's not fair for the indigenous people, it's not fair for the black people, it's not fair for anyone who is not capitalist. So most of the Americans will fight back. No, it's our nationality, it's our national state. We cannot let go of America, right? So now we are asking the Israelis to let go of America. And it's a lot. It's a lot. But we have to choose. We want democracy or we want Jewish state.
Yeah. I want to add here, you just said your family are demonstrating in the streets in Tel Aviv. Since 2 years, Israelis are demonstrating in the streets against this government. I am occupied since 75 years. Not by this government, by all the governments, after and before. None of them was better than the other. But why Israelis are demonstrating against this government? Because this government was endangering their privilege. Yeah? No one was demonstrating for my freedom. No one was demonstrating for Palestinian human rights. They were demonstrating because the government decided to change the laws in the Supreme Court and to take part of their privilege. They all went to the street and they were demonstrating with Israeli flags only. I tried to join these kind of demonstrations at the beginning. When you carry a Palestinian flag, they jump at you and they take it down. Eventually, we succeeded to build a small block called Block Against the Occupation. So there were like 10,000 people demonstrating, 200 for freedom and justice. So we need to tell them and to educate them that if they want to demonstrate for freedom and for justice, they have to demonstrate for everyone. The same people they were demonstrating for their justice, they were shooting at me when I was demonstrating for my justice a few years before. Yeah? And suddenly demonstration is right for them. So they believe in the right of demonstration, but not for me, for them. Yeah? So if they want to demonstrate, if anyone wants to demonstrate, they have to demonstrate for the freedom of the Palestinians, because no one will be safe on the land as long as we are not free. And this is the only safety for everyone. Free the Palestinians. Few months ago or 2 months ago, the Jordanian Prime Minister was standing in the United Nations and he said, we are here, 52 Arab and Muslim countries, and we are willing to guarantee the security of Israel if Israel ends the occupation of the Palestinians. Yeah? So if you care about your family, if you care about the Jewish people, if you care about their safety, they need to start demonstrating for freedom for everyone in the country and not only for their privileges.
I was wondering how you two met and started this program. And what level of media?
What level of?
What level of media in Israel and Palestine would, broadcast this kind of message that you're doing? Or, do you have big money running each of these media stations that, don't care? They'll probably feed it because where there's blood, there's, excitement. There's money made.
We met 7 years ago. We started to give similar talks in Israel, in Palestine, mostly with teenagers. And yeah, somehow because Osama cannot go inside Israel, I had to pick him up and to take him, and on the way back, the car broke, and we had to push it together. And this is how we connected and we became friends, and since then we are part of this shared mixed communities of Israelis and Palestinians who try to be together and to create a different reality. For us, at least, it's a small bubble, but it helps us to stay sane in this situation. And yeah, 7th of October happened. We were planning to go to Germany from before for 2 weeks. And then the airport was closed, so I couldn't use my privileged passport anymore. I had to go with Osama to Jordan. It's the first time we traveled together as equals. And yeah, we found ourselves giving talks for 6 months in Germany every day because it felt important, needed, and people kept inviting us. And yeah, since then, we took a short break and we are here again since August, and we are doing it. There is no organization behind us. It's not supported by anyone. We just ask the people that we meet to help us cover the costs, the flight tickets, because we want to continue to speak up, especially in such horrific times. And yeah, we will appreciate any kind of support. If you know other people who would like to invite us to speak in universities, high schools, anywhere, you can see the website, the email, and you can write us, and we will be happy to continue spreading this message.
Yeah. And we're still not perfect. We have fights sometimes.
Sometimes, all the times.
Yeah. And we agree not to agree, but we still agree that we all are human beings and we deserve freedom and justice and safe place to live for all of us. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you again. I just want to say in the end, after thank you again, I want to say that if you have come here to support us, you are wasting your time, believe me. But if you have come here because you know and you are sure that your freedom and your independence is bound up with others, we have a long way to go. Thank you so much. شكرا.